Our Erroneous Hero. What's up, guys? Your boy McKinley Crain here. Today, I'm going to be doing my spoiler-free movie review of Batman. Batman 1966. The 1966 movie. The original theatrical Batman movie. Now, let's get into it. So, I watched this movie like a year ago, almost a year ago. It was like, I had seen all the other theatrically released Batman movies before I watched this movie. It took me like a while to actually like have the time and just kind of actually remember to watch the movie. Cause, it's the one that I always kind of forgot existed. Like, I was familiar with all the other Batman movies. I was even familiar with this one, but I would just always forget that it existed, mainly because it came out in the 60s. And, nobody really talks about this one that much, except when they're, like, actually talking about all the Batman movies. Or just this movie specifically, which is almost never. But since the Batman 2022 is coming out this Friday, and I'm gonna see it hopefully this Friday. If things are tight, maybe I'll have to see it Saturday morning, but I'm probably gonna see it this Friday, and I'm gonna have a review for it. Before I do that, I want to review like a couple other Batman movies before I do that. So, hopefully I can rank all the Batman movies. And guys, I know when I've said that I've done rankings in the past, they've come out late, really late, and I still have to do that Spider-Man ranking. I got to do that sometime, along with the Mortal Kombat movie along with like the Mortal Kombat movie ranking. But I'm gonna get to that. But hopefully I will get to the Batman movie thing soon, along with the Spider-Man ranking and the Mortal Kombat ranking. Anyway, so this movie is like set in the universe of the 1960s Adam West Batman TV show. It's basically like a really long episode of the show, and it exists because of the success of that show, which gained which people loved at the time, and people still do. Some people really do not like this movie or the show that it came from. They think it's too campy. They think it's dated, and yes, it is a little dated. They think it's cheesy, and yes, it is campy and it is cheesy, but in my opinion, that's a good thing. And those two, the camp and the cheese, those two things are part of what makes this show so good. I love my dark Batman. I prefer Batman to be dark, but I love my campy, goofy Batman too. And honestly, I was not born in the 60s, obviously. I was not. The show was before my time. It was before my parents' time. However, I still get like nostalgia watching it. And honestly, when I first watched an episode of the Batman 60s TV show, I was, let's just say it was a time in my life that I constantly feel kind of nostalgic for. So I get like two feelings of nostalgia when I think about like the Batman 60s series and this movie. I get like the 60s nostalgia, like, oh hey, yeah, that's what it was like then. And then I get like, oh hey, I remember when I like first watched an episode of the Batman 60s TV show. It was a pretty good day when I watched my first episode of Batman. I was having a pretty good day. Uh, anyway, this movie has Adam West Batman and Burt Ward Robin on an adventure. Just to be honest, I don't really remember a lot of the plot about this movie. I don't actually remember a lot of the plot about this movie. I remember certain moments. I remember like they had all the villains have teamed up, and there's like some submarine or something. Anyway, I have the plot in here. I just constantly find it hard to actually remember the plot of this movie, because I don't really think about this movie much, because no one brings it up. No one ever talks about it. And yes, it's one of the weaker entries in the Batman movie series, but it's still a fun movie in my opinion. It's still just fun. It's not a movie that's for everyone. Some people hate this movie. Most people like it though. But if you're into this kind of stuff, you probably will love this movie. And if you love the show, you'll probably most definitely love this movie. And if you just love campy Batman, you'll probably love this movie. What I'm saying is, it's a different kind of Batman movie, but it works. It's different from like all the other Batman movies, and it works. And the thing about this movie is, this isn't the only Batman movie to ever be campy or cheesy. But the thing about this movie is, it uses the camp, and it works when it's doing it. There have been some Batman movies that have tried to use camp to like as humor or whatever, and it just hasn't worked. Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, yeah, but this movie uses its camp in a good way, and it doesn't mess up the tone. The campiness in this movie doesn't mess up the whole tone of this movie, because the tone is pretty consistent. And for a movie like this, the tone needs to be consistent. And the writers knew that when they were writing the script for this movie. And I think the director knew that too. Which is why it is the way it is, and it's great in my opinion. Is it perfect? No. But it's awesome, and it's great, and if you're a fan of the show, or you're just, I know I already said that, but I feel like I have to say that again, or you just like, really just kind of silly, wacky, campy movies, or if you're a Batman fan, you might like this one, but you might not. And if you're like a fan of Golden Age and Silver Age comic books, you'll probably like this movie. Anyway, I for one enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. The acting's pretty great. The dialogue is wacky and goofy, but in a good way. And, the villains are extremely wacky and goofy, but in a good way. And I'm going to give this movie an 86% out of 100%, which is the equivalent of an A-. Like, subscribe, join the notification squad. I will return.